And here we go, spawning down in the bottom right for the Platinum Heroes. It is ShaDoWn.
And that obviously means in the top left side of Grezwan, we are looking at the main base of our Polish Protoss representing Blazer Esports. It's Krystianer.
And obviously, this is going to be a much different game, much different series than what we saw between MaxPax and Mana. Notably, first of all, MaxPax isn't in the series, so the one-gate play is not as prevalent. We already do see something a little bit interesting, where we've got ShaDoWn sneaking his probe around Krystianer's, not going for the standard probe scout, and I think he's just going to plant a fake proxy pylon just to try and throw his opponent off, and looks like that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, I like it. Obviously, Krystianer is going to scout, and he's going to see that something is missing. He will not see that second pylon. And this is such an important best of 3 for both of these guys that there will be nerfs. And at the moment you see something is a bit off, you might freak yourself out, play overly defensive. It's a small mind game, but I still like it. ShaDoWn basically setting the pace of the series and saying like, hey, it's PvP. Nothing seems or nothing looks what it actually turns out to be. And I'm going to try to give you as many different looks as possible. And I'm going to make it as hard as possible for you to figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of like this from ShaDoWn here. He did wait a little bit with this probe. For a second, I thought he was just going to hide it entirely to be like, I might have snuck a probe on the map. There could be a proxy. You gotta be extra careful. It will see the Stalker Adept opening, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. This is a different opening. This is one of the least common openings we see in PvP, but it does have some advantages. You get 3 Stalkers up at a timing to deal with this 2-Stalker move out, and you're still able to, force defensive shield batteries with this first Adept, as well as get some good scouting. And in fact, does he find the... Okay, he doesn't quite find the pylon. That would have been really nice if he found that.
Yeah, also really weird. It's like, why would the Adept be there in the bottom right side of the map? But Krystianer just taking an awkward route into the natural of ShaDoWn. That's something that makes some sense. Now, even one Adept can become a bit of a nuisance. It can become a bit of a nightmare to deal with if you don't have a shield battery in your main base, so you really don't want to let it get in. It won't get in. Now Krystianer is just going to end up losing this Adept. Will he at least get 1 probe? Yes, he does. That's still something.
Yeah. It takes the sting out of it a little bit, because losing that first Adept, it's not a nice feeling to lose it for free, but at least, he did force that shield battery to be built in, and more importantly, got the probe and the scout on the Nexus. So it's not good, it's not great, but it's palatable. You can swallow that pill and be okay with it.
Yeah, he can live with it, and he also saw, obviously, that everything in the end is still somewhat normal. ShaDoWn's still going to try to get something done here, but 4 against 3 Stalkers in a battery, I really don't think you can get much done. It's important not to get too go on an ego trip and be like, I can out-micro this guy, right? Because you're going to get close because you have a bit more firepower, but then the battery overcharge kicks in, and in the end, you really can't get a whole lot done. Krystianer will go for the Robo. ShaDoWn goes for the Robo. Okay, so it's both players going for the 2-gate expand Robo after Twilight Council, but that's still a little bit different, right? Because quite often in the past we just see, all right, let's play 3-ways, let's play Blink Stalkers and a Forge, let's get upgrades, and the Robos are late. You can really see that neither of these guys wants to die to something silly. They don't want to get all in. They want to have the safety of that Robo.
Yeah, absolutely. This is 100% them saying exactly what you're describing. I don't want to die. I don't want to get DT'd. I don't want to have anything come out that I'm not ready for. Now, the next question is, what, if anything, does either of these players try and do to get early value out of the robotics facility? Will they drop a quick War Prism? Or is it just going to be, I want quick observers and just purely for safety? Because you can do something like try and sneak a couple of Adepts into the main base with a quick War Prism. I don't think we're going to see that, but it will be interesting to see if one of them tries to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good play if Blink isn't done yet, because then Protoss units are slow. But once Blink is done, I'd be a bit surprised to see either player willing to make that investment. It almost makes more sense to just run them to the other side of the map and hope that you can shade in if you can catch a glimpse of the army moving out somewhere. I think that's a safer play, but often the same return of investment. So far, it's just a dead even game. Now, Krystianer has dropped the Forge. That's not a guarantee, because if you go for that quick robo, you can obviously just say, F it, I'm not going to drop a Forge. I'm going to go up to 8 gateways or even 10 gates of 3 bases, and I'm going to try to end it. Now, this is going to be interesting, as we have Stalkers poking at the 3rd base, Adept shading into the natural. It is a bit of a classic in PvP. I know that Krystianer has done it plenty of times. I'm sure that ShaDoWn has faced it plenty of times, and I think the army split there was very good by the French Protoss, as he blinks forward as well, gets a Stalker, and was very close to getting a few more.
Yeah, he bruises up a bunch of those Stalkers. It was still an opportunity for Krystianer to get a lot of value there, but he didn't have the Adept target firing in the natural because he was focused so much on the 3rd base. And like you said, ShaDoWn split the army well and forced that target fire. Krystianer wasn't able to pull it off, and it ends up being a solid defense from ShaDoWn.
A solid defense it is, as he feels that it's now his turn to do the exact same thing. That's if you talk about a mirror, by the way, this really has been one hell of a mirror. Adepts are going to try to shade into the natural. Stalkers reveal themselves at the 3rd base. What we do see, though, is that ShaDoWn is the first one to drop a Dark Shrine. Krystianer has gone for the explosion of gateways. Adepts will not shade into the main base. We'll still get 1 or 2 probes. Okay, gets another one there with the Adepts. Okay, Krystianer actually struggling a lot more to clean up these 2 Adepts than I expected. 7 probes that fast. While he knew exactly what was happening, he saw them. They were stuck on the ramp. I'm very surprised by that.
Yeah, that's we're seeing the same thing on both sides, coming out from both sides, but just a little bit better execution from ShaDoWn, and he'll net himself a nice worker lead. And he's going to be happy with that. He also kept both Adepts alive. Yes, one is super low on HP, but you still have that one-shot potential. Krystianer still facing a little bit of threat from this. We do see this proxy pylon on the bottom side going to try and maybe warp in a couple DTs and just continue this little bit of harassment from ShaDoWn. The main thing that ShaDoWn it cost him in order to get the quick Dark Shrine is it's just a little bit of timing on the gateways, but it's not going to really lead to much, I don't think. Oh, nice find on the Adepts, though. Good job from Krystianer this time.
Krystianer is building a cannon or 2, but he only has a single observer, and that observer's on the other side of the map. It's keeping track of the Stalkers. These DTs could really hurt, man. I think that Krystianer could be in a bit of trouble with only 1 observer, and that observer being terribly out of position. Of course, there's always recall available, and there is at least that 1 cannon in the natural, but I am still a little bit worried here for Krystianer, as he's slightly out of position. He's going to try to pounce on his army, so the surround hit, that's going to be very good. Krystianer is going to do great against his army. ShaDoWn should maybe blink and recall, even though it's going to be painful. He's going to blink just across that army, snipes a prism, but he's finding a lot of economic damage with these DTs, and he's nowhere near done.
No, he is certainly not. He's already got 15 probes. That cannon in the natural will help out a lot, and the observer does clean up the DT at the 3rd, but this is already done a ton of damage. Very worthwhile on the play. And ShaDoWn, okay, well, he's not going to be able to get that Forge. This will get cleaned up in its totality. This is still giving ShaDoWn a really nice economic advantage as the 4th bases kick in.
Yeah, it could have been worse, but I still think it was somewhat painful, as the Stalkers are going to blink forward. I think ShaDoWn really should have left that DT. As long as there are 5-6 probes left in the main base, there's no need to run the Dark Templar into the natural where you know there is a cannon. But I think he was a little bit shocked by the fact that his Stalkers got surrounded, and he's like, oh no, this can get very bad. As Krystianer, I think, is getting a tiny bit carried away, thinking that he can chase his army all the way down. I mean, he does have 2 Archons in the mix, but Archons don't really make all the difference, especially not if your opponent is working with almost pure Blink Stalker. Like, it's going to be an interesting fight, where Zealot Stalker Archon can sometimes do alright, but especially near a battery, I prefer the pure Stalker army.
Yeah, and the Archons really don't make sense to me in the context of going up against ShaDoWn. ShaDoWn has been playing Pure Blink Stalker quite a bit in some of his games, and it's like you said, Archons just don't trade well against them. It's against those Zealots that you really want the Archons. Meanwhile, though, ShaDoWn is actually going to transition into a Robotics Bay, and that does even better against Archons, these Disruptors.
Yep, it would have made sense if Krystianer also had a couple of Immortals, right? Then the idea of having more high HP units in the mix, that's obviously nice, but right now I just think that this pure Stalker army is better. There's more micro potential in it, especially near batteries. Without a battery, it'd be like, okay, maybe, as I do like that blink. If you're ever gonna take this fight with the army of Krystianer, you gotta take out that overcharged battery immediately. ShaDoWn and Zealots are just chilling on hold position, but it's obviously okay. Yeah, I guess he didn't want to just suicide them into the Archons as he warps in a couple of DPs. There are no observers. Krystianer lost his observers. He's going to have to retreat immediately. He's got no detection for these DTs. Krystianer, this will always be a very painful fight, my friend.
Yeah, the two observers went super deep and kind of ran past the army of ShaDoWn. It was already going to be a really difficult fight for Krystianer, attacking into a defensive setup. And I do like that you pointed out that ShaDoWn kept that Zealous on hold position, kept them from getting kind of obliterated by the Archons. But now, after a crushing victory on the defense, I don't really know how Krystianer is supposed to hold his fourth base or really even stay alive in this game at this point.
Yeah, and it's not just this, right? As there's a couple of DTs and Zealots running into the third base as well. ShaDoWn is just playing a beautiful PvP here on Grass 1. Both players had very similar openings, had similar ideas. It truly came down to execution. And maybe at one point the DTs put ShaDoWn in a good position, but he has just played the slightly cleaner, slightly better game. As Krystianer splits off a lot of units to deal with the Zealots and DTs, and that should open the doors for these Stalkers of ShaDoWn to get a great fight. He's got a Nova in the mix as well. He's taking his time, but he's playing it safe, and it's obviously a very important game. He has already killed 22 probes. So he's just doing everything right. Set first. Krystianer is trying, but it really does not feel like a very fair fight. GG gets called. ShaDoWn takes the 1-0 lead in this decisive, all-important best of 3 for these guys. Same idea, same game plan, almost same execution. But we could really see the difference where Krystianer with his adepts got 2 probes, ShaDoWn with his adepts got 7 and got the adepts out of there. And to make matters like in a weird way even worse is that Krystianer was the first one to do it. And that means that it hit earlier. That means that you have less units. If you have less units, it feels normally the adepts should have more potential because it's a lot harder for ShaDoWn to split off a decent amount of Stalkers to clean up these adepts. But even though he's the one who did it later, he did it a whole lot better.
Yeah, and it was a matter of Krystianer not really microing those adepts in the natural. Now, once again, it's easier said than done, but you can shift click up a bunch of probes and then go to micro at the third base. And with him not doing that, that kind of showed the difference, at least for today, between these two players. And that was where it was little things like that that kind of added up over time. Obviously, those DTs got a lot of damage, way more damage than they had any business getting. But yeah, I think ShaDoWn he's just playing a little bit better today.
Yep, at least in the first game, but things can turn on its head very so quickly in a PvP. Like if Krystianer shades 2 adepts into the main base at minute 3 here, we're like, oh my goodness, ShaDoWn is falling apart. So let's see what game 2 has in store for us. Ancient Cisteran is going to be the map that will determine the tournament fate of Krystianer. Will he continue fighting or will it all end here? We are about to find out. Probably no 1-gate fast expand. Probably no cannon rushes either, guys. Here we go. Top right side of Ancient. We are looking at the main base of our Polish Protoss. He is representing Blazer Esports down 0-1. Must-win game for him or the ESL Masters journey ends here. This is Krystianer.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom left for the Platinum Heroes. It is the Blue Protoss player, ShaDoWn. And I gotta say, yeah, he played a solid game number 1 right there. Anytime that you play the same opening pretty much as your opponent, almost down. Funnily enough, Krystianer was actually the one who had like a slightly tighter build order. He ended up, I think, 3 probes ahead with really not a whole lot happening overall. Anytime that you then win that game by just kind of out executing your opponent, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, for sure. I also think if you want to play Zealot, Stalker, Archon, that only makes sense if you also have Immortals. if you don't have Immortals, like Zealot, Stalker, Archon is not necessarily better than pure Blink Stalkers. If we are fighting in a wide open area and Zealots have a sexy 360-degree no-scope Mountain Dew surround, yeah, sure, you know, then maybe that army comp gets it done. But to just attack with Zealot, Stalker, Archon into pure Stalker backed up by batteries and cannons, that almost never works. You truly need those heavy-hitting Immortals in the mix there. Speaking of heavy-hitting Immortals, proxy pylon. ShaDoWn gave a fake proxy in game 1. He's going to give us a real proxy in game 2 with a very quick robo. And it almost feels that Krystianer wants to maybe get a Stargate. No, he was just scouting. Hasn't seen it yet, though. He's close, but he is not going to see it that fast.
That is so unfortunate right there. And I really like this. So I talked about the probe timing. In game number 1, ShaDoWn kept it back. Now it shows up at the exact same time. He has really tried to sell this. Unfortunately for him, Krystianer doing the diligence will find this pylon, will find this robotics facility. And now the question is, do you try and defend this position?
I think you do. Yeah, no, I think you do, because in the end it should be a couple of Stalkers battling. ShaDoWn may need to send over another probe, though. With that robo finished up, you obviously absolutely want this Immortal to come out. Krystianer does not want to play the dangerous game and actually gives up on it rather early. I'm a bit surprised, right? Because if you were able to get those first hits off, you should know that the 2 Stalker against 2 Stalker fight is always going to go in your favor until unit number 3, 4 and the Immortal show up. Yeah, I'm surprised that Krystianer let ShaDoWn get off the hook that easily.
I agree with you, and I do feel like he kind of let him off the hook there. He already had the advantage. Oh, now this is actually very nice for Krystianer. Will find this, has to be careful, does anticipate the Immortals timing, will get out of here, good job. Krystianer, for his part, built the defensive robo, built the 3rd gateway. What do you think of this Stalker move out? This feels so bold to me.
Yeah, it's adventurous. It can work out. He probably just feels very safe at home, where he says, hey, I've got a battery, I've got my own robo. Krystianer is completely okay with losing that pylon, but he does need to build another pylon, because now he's going to be supply blocked. He's got a pylon finishing up, and then he's still pretty much supply blocked.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to these 4 Stalkers on the other side of the map, what they can get done. I think in the end this is just going to be weird, where ShaDoWn kills the gateway. Krystianer is going to be annoying with Stalkers on the other side of the map, but that's kind of it, right? I don't see this game ending in anyone's favor anytime soon.
No, nice job right there from Krystianer to bait out the Immortals barrier, but good job from ShaDoWn to make sure that the Immortal of his opponent can't get a big punch on ShaDoWn's Immortal. Still, yeah, this is going to be a little bit weird. Oh, we do see the Stalkers going after this pylon, but he wasn't anticipating an Immortal right there, and that will lead to 1 dead Stalker. Fortunately, he gets to the top of the ramp for the recall, so he's able to avoid losing another one. But I mean, losing one of the Stalkers being forced to recall, that is a little bit unfortunate for Krystianer.
Yep. This is where it gets very fun, because who's going to expand, who's going to drop a Robo Bay, or will someone throw? That is risky Warp Prism movement, very risky. No, that's so crazy. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. ShaDoWn thought he could still save his Immortals. Donates the Warp Prism with 2 Immortals inside of it. Well, that is a big dub for Krystianer.
Yeah, and that is a huge mistake for ShaDoWn. He could have recalled, would have lost probably one of the Immortals, but at least he gets out with the Prism and the Immortal, because he misclicked a little bit right there. And instead of making the kind of like cut your losses type move, he tries to save everything and loses all of it.
Yep. That does mean that he's in trouble. What can he do? Obviously, he lost power to the Robo as well. It does have a lot of sentries defensively, so he should be able to drop some force fields. Krystianer still needs to respect this army, because it's not like Krystianer's army is a whole lot bigger or better. Kills one of the sentries there immediately, and Krystianer's just right-clicking on the battery, but he's second-guessing himself too. Decides against it. So maybe a tiny window has now already passed. Obviously, Krystianer is expanding on the other side of the map as well. He's going to try to get lucky one more time, and this time around, he will just get that battery. And without the battery, without the overcharge, Krystianer's army here is so much better than ShaDoWn's army.
Yeah, the 2 Immortals just absolutely punching the crap out of those Stalkers, going to easily break through here. I do like the Warping of Zealots, but it's simply just not enough. Great micro from Krystianer with the Warp Prism at the end. But it's kind of a style move at that point, and he will even the series at 1 apiece. Man, ShaDoWn, that's a moment he would want back for sure with that War Prism.
Painful moment in a game that obviously feels very even. We're doing the same thing. Obviously, ShaDoWn is the one who proxied the Robo. Krystianer is the one who scouted it. He had 2 probes, by the way, active in the side of the map early on. I don't normally see that of Krystianer, where, like, if you go for a 1-gate fast expand and you assume that your opponent is attacking you, we know that the Protoss players like to have 2 probes scouting early on. Krystianer had the double gateway high ground setup, but it was still scouting around with 2 probes. Found what he was looking for, but then it's still supposed to be an uncomfortable but still pretty even game, because it's not like Krystianer has an expand that he's defending. So it's honestly pretty even. There's everything to play for. It comes down to the decision making afterwards. Who goes Robo Bay? Who expands? Do someone go Blink Stalkers early on? Yeah, all of that did not matter when ShaDoWn clicked the War Prism deep into the main base of Krystianer, and there were a whole bunch of Stalkers there. And then, as you said, he got greedy. He didn't want to cut his losses. He could have probably saved one Immortal, and that Prism would have been able to get out. And he said, nope, I'm going to try to get everything out. And instead, he got nothing out.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you just save the War Prism and one of the Immortals gets down to like half HP, if you have that, the attack that Krystianer won the game with, I don't think there's game-winning potential for it. Like, it can still maybe get something done, but having the War Prism to micro, having those sentries, having the shield battery and eventually battery overcharge, and then the one Immortal as well, that's probably enough for him to comfortably hold. And then he even has the quicker Nexus, and he's still in a fine position, I think.
Absolutely. Well, we thought it was going to be close between these two with everything to play for, as this best of 3 is obviously for all the marbles, tournament live on the line. We've got a game 3 once more. I think that's something we're going to say a couple of times, especially in PvP decided matches, because obviously the idea of this format is that on the final 2 days, we've got a whole bunch of very close and competitive matches. And that is absolutely the case. In the bottom left side, we are looking at the main base man who's going to be fuming a little, because there is no worse feeling than losing a War Prism with 2 Immortals if you're a 1-base Protoss. Can he keep it together? The Frenchman representing the Platinum Heroes. It's ShaDoWn.
And his opponent spawning up at the top right for Team Blazer. Getting a bit of a lifeline in that game and running with it. It is Krystianer. And, you know, mistakes, they're going to happen in StarCraft 2 in a game that has such ludicrously high demands on your mechanics, on your mental ability, and then also in a game that is so important, a series that is so important. Mistakes are going to happen. It's all about how you manage dealing with those mistakes and how you mitigate the damage from those mistakes. And I think going back historically, that was one of the bigger differences between non-Koreans and Korean players in, you know, 2013, 2014, 2015, was that it felt like the Korean players were really good at mitigating mistakes and managing that. And obviously that's just a weird aside, but it's neat how even still that is such an important factor.
Yeah, it is very hard to keep it together in StarCraft 2. Some people have been playing this game for 10, 12 years and they can still fall apart in the middle of a best of 3. And then you've got others. Sometimes you just have enigmas, right, where nothing really phases them. And they're always able to play their A game, no matter how many things may go wrong in that first game, or they can go down 0-2 in the best of 5, where they are the favorite and nothing really bothers them. We'll see how these guys are going to be able to keep it together in Game 3. As Krystianer, for the first time in the best of 3, StatFast has gone for multiple adepts. Not 1 adept Stalker, no, it's 2 adepts into 2 more. Good chance this leads into the 8 adepts. Now, why do people do this? Obviously, it's very good against sentries. This is a greedy build, by the way, man. So, just adapts into a Nexus. As ShaDoWn is making 2 Stalkers, the follow-up is a very quick Stargate. So I guess it's going to be an Oracle. He's going to see at least that it's 4 adepts, not totally standard. I think you can just run away. I don't think you need to recall here, as long as you make sure that your adepts, your Stalkers don't get surrounded. I think running is fine. Will he lose a Stalker? Yes, but single Stalker, buying a lot of time against the mass adept opening, I think it's reasonable.
I think because he's opening Oracle, that's what makes it okay. If it was because he actually cut his 3rd and 4th gateway units in order to get his own Nexus. Oh, now I hate the recall.
Yeah.
Okay. I liked it. I like the idea of going for it initially, but now he recalls. I guess he saves the second Stalker for sure, and he might have lost it.
No, that would have
Otherwise-
definitely lived. You saw that it took like 3 shades
Yeah,
for the 4
it takes so long. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't like that recall one bit.
Well, we were talking about second guessing yourself and keeping
Yeah.
it together. Maybe ShaDoWn not totally sure what was the response there. Obviously, he's seen that opening before. He's now going to send the probes to the low ground already. This can honestly get ugly, man, because that's a lot of adepts. He's going to let them in. Oh, he blocked the ability to warp in a building. So now he's forced to fight on the low ground. And Krystianer is going to be off to a flying start here. These adepts are now going to get into the main base. Stalkers don't have Blink. Oracle low on energy. Oh, that is so many workers going down. Krystianer with a dream start. ShaDoWn in a bit of trouble.
This was 2 Oracles using a ton of energy defensively, and a recall, and a dead Stalker, and he still lost 12 probes. This should not have gotten, realistically, on paper, any damage done. Maybe a couple of probes, maybe something goes wrong, but I mean, ShaDoWn had all the tools he needed to defend. And I talked about those nerves, but they really come into play in a game like this. And ShaDoWn, he is going to move across the map. He's going to try and find something. He goes for the battery overcharge. Will be able to use the Oracles on the probes. Krystianer, though, snipes down one of those Oracles. Doesn't lose anything besides that battery at the front. This is still very good for Krystianer.
Yeah, that is actually just another win for Krystianer, man. Like,
Yeah.
he loses a battery, that's not all that important anymore because ShaDoWn does not have follow-up aggression. And then he lost 2 probes, but he killed an Oracle. Any Protoss will take that trade, killing an Oracle for only 2 probes. ShaDoWn knows that he is in trouble, and when behind, we can always go for that Dark Shrine. The problem for him is that Krystianer has already built a Robo. He obviously knows that he's in a very good spot, and he's probably asking himself, what can I still lose to? You having quicker blink than me? No, that's impossible because you open up with all these Oracles. You just having a bigger army than me? No, that's impossible because I killed all your workers. So then I could lose to the Invisible Man. And there is one thing very good against the Invisible Man, and that's Observers.
That is true. Now, ShaDoWn does still have a potential win condition with this. Krystianer did go very well. As I say that, it's actually not going to be the case here. Krystianer, I was just going to say, did go low on the observer count in game number 1. He only built the 1 observer. However, and I was thinking like, oh, maybe he can use an Oracle's Revelation to snipe the observer, DTs slip in, and maybe he snipes a pylon, snipes the Robo, something like that, and finds a way to victory. But I really like the second observer just to make absolutely sure from Krystianer.
Yeah, no, Krystianer's game senses are spot on so far, and he obviously got off to such a good start. And Adept opening is not that popular because it doesn't always give you that much damage. If they open up with Stalkers and Sentries, sometimes, this is where it's going from bad to worse. I think Krystianer saw the Shimmer there as well. He can obviously bring his Observer over. Revelation was indeed dropped on 1 ops, but there is a second ops. I don't know if he can recall. Obviously, we recalled in the beginning of the game. So the 2 DPs die as they morph into an Archon. At least they died in harmony.
They did indeed, and it actually, recall was off of cooldown, but he didn't have energy. He just hit 50 energy on that natural nexus. Everything that can go wrong in this game for ShaDoWn has gone wrong. And at this point, I really don't know how he's going to manage this next attack. The shield battery is not done at this base. It will be done very shortly, but he's not going to have battery overcharge. This is a big army for Krystianer.
Yeah, Krystianer is also getting somewhat close to +1. It's going to take a little while before that kicks in. At least the battery is up for ShaDoWn. If he's ever going to win this fight, it is because he's got a battery. He's trying to do his best. There is a stasis trap there on the left side as well. Krystianer could potentially walk into it. But so far, Krystianer is just having a very fun time gunning down these Stalkers 1 by 1. He still has a pretty big Stalker advantage. But now the Nexus finishes up. Overcharge. Can he get the pylon quickly enough? In the end, he does get the pylon. Took a little while, though. But I think it's just a matter of time before the reinforcements will arrive. Krystianer clearly has some units at home. If he grabs everything that he has, ShaDoWn is going to be in trouble. Good scrap, though, by ShaDoWn, all things considered. That could have been incredibly bad. He's still in trouble, but he's allowed to dream. Whoa, double forge. Okay, that's some big dreams.
Yeah, that is a definite interesting move from this maneuver. But I am really impressed that he survived right there, because that was a really scary situation in the battery overcharge. He read that Krystianer was going to go for that pylon right away because he popped the battery overcharge and instantly healed the pylon. So that's a small little understanding of how your opponent likes to play a move like that. And it was that little read that actually gave him enough defensive momentum to just barely push this back. He's still in a horrible position, and he still needs a lot of miracles, really, or at least one big fight to turn this around. But he's given himself a small opportunity. Now he forces the recall. Okay, all right, that's something.
Yeah, but it also means that his army is stuck. His army is a bit stuck. He is finding a couple of probes on the triangle base with a DT, but his army is stuck. ShaDoWn, I don't know if he can recall. I don't know if that is even a good play or not. I think that's kind of like the only play. Krystianer can chase it. Krystianer can also turn around as he finds a few more stray stalkers. It really does feel that the wheels came off a little bit for ShaDoWn here in game 3. It all starts. Oh my goodness, no cancel on the Nexus. Step first, I'll close my eyes. You tell me when it's over.
Yeah, this one is starting to get a little bit ugly here. The Stasis Ward, once again, it looks like it's going to expire just before the fight breaks out. There was an observer anyways, so he probably wasn't going to get that big Stasis Ward that he needed. Battery overcharge going to get popped, but like you said, this is getting a little bit painful for ShaDoWn. Obviously, you fight till the bitter end in a situation like this, but it is feeling like that bitter end is inevitable.
You know, I think the man has done everything he could to get back into this game. Krystianer is just leaving no stone unturned. He knows what he needs to do to close this one out, and he feels that this is the fight that's going to send him into the playoffs of the ESL Masters once more. ShaDoWn microing to the best of his abilities. It feels an unfair fight as Krystianer just has more money, has more reinforcements coming in, is about to have +2. There's the forward link. And that is going to be the nail in the coffin. GG. Congrats to Krystianer for once more making it into the playoffs.